Good evening. Everyone always says that you need to choose Jesus or you need to make a choice for God and stand for God and Christ. But Jesus in John chapter 15, verse 16 says to his disciples, "You have not chosen me. I chose you and I appoint you." And that's the way God operates. He chooses. And then once he chooses, everything falls into line according to his will because he is the Almighty. And he drew up the plan, and he planned each day of our lives and wrote them down in a scroll before any one of them came to be. So it's God that makes the absolute ultimate choice of who will believe and who will follow and who will do what for him on this earth and beyond based on his sovereign choice. And then based on his power and control of every circumstance that there is, in each of those persons' lives, details will unfold that cause them to make the choices that God predestined them to make. In Ephesians chapter 1, verse 4 through 5, you can go through scripture and you can look at how God's choice works through every single aspect of life and belief in every human being. In Ephesians chapter 1, verse 4 and 5, and 2 Timothy chapter 1, verse 9, it says that Jesus chose who would believe in him, who would be in the body of Christ before the foundation of the world. Before the world was even created, Jesus chose certain people to believe in him. And then as many years went by and those people were born, life circumstances dictated and meshed with the heart that God gave that person, and that person came to belief based on the sovereignty of God and God's choice. So even to have belief, you look at Scripture, if you look at Romans here, chapter 8, look at verse 20. For to vanity was the creation subjected, not voluntarily, but because of him, capital H, who subjects it. So it's God that subjects us to vanity. Ecclesiastes 1:13, this is a creation of evil, an experience of evil that God has put humanity through to humble us by. Isaiah 45:7, God created evil. Everyone's a sinner. Not one is seeking God. No, not one. So we're all in the same boat. We're all human beings affected by the death of Adam. And that death is coursing through our bodies, and because of that death, we are sinning. And we fall short of the glory of God, as Scripture declares. So that's where we all are. Now, God chose certain people to believe. And as I just said in Ephesians 1, 4 and 5, and 2 Timothy 1, 9, and elsewhere in Scriptures, God called out a group of people to believe in Jesus Christ, to truly believe that Jesus Christ saves humanity through his death, entombment, and resurrection alone, not based on anything the human has done. So God makes that choice. So if a believer makes a choice for Jesus today, they can't boast in the choice that they made. Because, yes, they made that choice, but it's not a choice that was ever up for grabs. It was never in doubt. They're just acting out in real time what God had already planned to do. He had already chosen that believer, and there's no chance that that believer is not going to come to Christ because God ordained it, and in real time, things will work out that way. Same way with unbelief. If you don't believe, and God didn't choose you to believe since the foundation of the world, then in real time, as your life unfolds, you will not believe because you weren't chosen. But if you're chosen, then the circumstances of your life will dictate that you believe, and that's all of God. So it's ultimately God's sovereign choice and will. It's not our free will. We're just acting out what God had already planned. So Jesus chooses the believer. And then we go to Romans 8, 28 through 30. Now listen here, and I want you to kind of look at these scriptures here. There's three scriptures, three verses. It's a paragraph. Think of what is the human's responsibility here in the process of getting the belief all the way up to being glorified. What contribution does the human make? This is Apostle Paul speaking. Now we are aware that God is working all together for the good of those who are loving him, who are called according to the purpose that whom he, capital H, foreknew. He, capital H, obviously capital H is talking about Jesus. He designates beforehand, before these people were even born, before the creation of the world. That's going back to Ephesians 1, 4, 5 and 2 Timothy 1, 9. He designates beforehand also to be conformed to the image of his Son. Okay, so we're talking about God here. God is talking and relating this to his Son, which is Jesus Christ. For him, Jesus Christ, to be the firstborn among many brethren. Now, whom he designates beforehand. So, God chooses these people beforehand, before the foundation of the world. Who he chooses beforehand, these he, capital H, calls also. And whom he calls, these he justifies also. Now, whom he justifies, these he glorifies also. So the process from start to finish. We're all in the sin boat. We all have death coursing through our veins the moment we're born. We could die the moment you could die before we're born. You could die when we're born. Right after. Death is coursing through our veins. It affects everything we do. Our mortality affects everything. And because we have that mortality, that death in us, like I said before, we sin. So we're all in that boat. But before creation, God chose people to believe. He designated them beforehand. Okay? The person had no choice in that. And then after they're designated, he calls them. So you've been designated or chosen, and then as your life unfolds, things work out. The circumstances of your life, every single detail works together for you to come to Jesus Christ. So you're chosen first, and then God calls you in real time in your life. Who he calls, these he calls, he justifies. Meaning because he called you, because you came to Christ, you exchange everything that you are and accept everything that Christ did through his death, entombment, and resurrection. So you're not forgiven. You don't need to be forgiven anymore because you took on what Jesus Christ did. Jesus Christ doesn't need to be forgiven. Jesus Christ died for you. So you accept all that he is and reject everything that you are. So when you accept all that Christ is, you are justified. You don't need forgiveness anymore because Christ took care of all that. You exchanged everything you are and accept what Christ is. So God looks at you as he looks at Christ because Christ took everything he is and gave it to you. Yes, you made that choice, but it's unfolding because God originally made that choice and everything is working according to his will. So after you're justified, then you're glorified. The whole process from being called when you're a sinner to being glorified as the Son of God, from start to finish, there's no mention of the human making free will choices or having a say in any of this. It's all, the whole process is up to God. And even in Corinthians, we look at Ephesians and 2 Timothy where it says that Jesus chose people since before the foundation of the world to believe. If you go to 2 Corinthians, I believe it is, chapter 12, or maybe it's 1 Corinthians. 1 Corinthians chapter 12, verse 18 and 19, it says, even after believers are chosen, yet now God placed the members, each one of them, in the body as according as he wills. Now, if it were all one member, where would the body? So, after you're chosen to believe, God even places you in certain areas with appointed tasks and having a certain role within the body. So, every instant from start to finish is based on what God has done. He chose you since the beginning of time. He calls you. He justifies you. He glorifies you. That's his choice. All that just naturally comes because God planned it. So now, as you live your life, the things that God had set forth since before the foundation of the world will come to pass because he has controlled and created every moment, every detail of life for you to walk in. And you will do exactly what he had planned for you to do. Even though we don't feel it, we live in this bubble of ignorance. That's part of what God gave us. We don't know what's going to happen in the future. But that doesn't change the fact that the future is as set in stone for God as the past is for us. Otherwise, how could we ever believe prophecy? Christians want to believe everything about prophecy, and rightly so, they should, because prophecy has been proven to be true, and prophetic things are coming true right now today, and all of that will come to pass in the future. But that's set in stone because God controls it all. He planned it all. He knows it all. He created it all. He knows the end from the beginning. And life is just unfolding in the ages now in real time based on a plan that was already decided before. So that's God's choice for belief. This video is getting long. I was gonna get into, how the rest of Romans, if you read Romans 8, 9, 10, and 11, it absolutely destroys free will and tells you just how God has planned everything. But before I finish here, what about the unbelievers? Unbelievers just weren't chosen. They weren't chosen in this life. But the next age coming is the 1,000-year reign. The age after that, right before the new heavens and the new earth, you have the great white throne judgment. Unbelievers are raised then. If you weren't chosen, then you're judged based on your acts, and some will go into the new heavens and the new earth, some will go to the lake of fire, which is the second death. But at the consummation, Jesus Christ destroys death, abolishes it, so it's inoperative. It can't operate anymore. So even those who go through the second death will be saved by the death, entombment, and resurrection of Jesus Christ, so that 1 Corinthians chapter 15, verse 22, verse 28, that says God will be all in all because of the death, entombment, and resurrection of Jesus Christ can be true. So all humanity will be saved. And yes, it's better to be chosen, but who knows? Who knows how great it'll be at the consummation when the last sinner shakes off death and is with God forever. God created us with certain pains and certain things that happen in our lives and details that different destinies will fulfill the pain and give us more joy based on the individual that God created. So you don't know, you might be chosen as a believer. For you, that's the greatest thing in the world. But another person who's an unbeliever, they have to go through things and come home at the consummation. You don't know how great that's going to be for them. It might hit the pain perfectly for them, as I believe it will for every human being, that every human being goes through specific pain for God to create a specific joy that's unimaginable for each specific person. And that's all based on the work, the death, entombment, and resurrection of Jesus Christ.